Hey everyone, I want to talk to you about something that all startups are starved for, and that's PR. How do you get the attention of the press when you've got no budget, because you're a startup, and the press are obsessed over large companies like Microsoft and Facebook and Twitter, and every time they sneeze, it gets a headline. I should know, I used to work for Microsoft doing PR in this exact building. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the tips and tricks that you can use on a shoestring budget that are the same things that the pros use. First thing, know what's news and what's not news. A partnership, a new hire, something like that, unless it's groundbreaking, you're probably not going to get attention. New product, new technology, innovation, yeah, your chances are getting better, but you have to ask yourself this question: what is the impact going to be and on whom? It's really important to understand that, because the bigger the impact, the better you spell it out, the more chances you're going to get press. The second thing is, know when it's news. Keep your eye on the competitor's calendar and make sure that you're not going to make an announcement opposite something like Apple's WWDC or Google's Zeitgeist, or something that the journalists are going to be really obsessed about. Pick your time and then do it then. Similarly, don't put it out midday in hopes that a journalist is going to cover it, because they need a full day. You're interrupting what they've already scheduled. So make sure that you're giving plenty of time for those guys to write up a story, assuming you can get their attention. Never reach out to a reporter about news after you've issued a press release, after somebody's written about it. It's old news then. So make sure you're treating that journalist like, hey, this is the one person I want to write this story. Speaking of press releases, and this is the third thing, I've been saying for more than a year, more than a decade, the best way to kill a story is to issue a press release. Reporters generally don't read them. That's a dirty little secret. And the second thing is, most wire distribution services like PR Newswire and PR Web, they have content sharing relationships. So when you issue a press release, it ends up showing up on a bunch of websites like Yahoo Finance that people generally don't read. But when a journalist goes to say, hey, you've got this news, and they go do a quick Google or Bing search, and they see that it's on all these other sites, you just hurt your chances of getting covered. So earned media is all about making sure you're giving that journalist the advantage of your story. Now, if you do issue a press release, for God's sakes, don't go spend more than $1,000 on this thing. They're expensive enough already. So what I've done in the past, even with big companies, is go to PR Newswire, and instead of picking US 1 or US 2, which costs north of $1,000, or at least they used to the last time I did it, go for the San Jose distribution. It'll cost you like $500, which is a lot less. Now, many startups are tempted to use free wire distribution services, or even inexpensive ones like PR Web. A cautionary tale: most of them don't push out to journalists. They just do this content sharing BS. That is just going to harm you in the end. Now, PR Web does have reasonable distribution, but not at the $250 or $350 price point. You still have to spend north of $500 to reach any meaningful number of press. But again, journalists generally don't look for news on these sources. The best way, and this is the fourth tip, the best way to find reporters is really to be reading about the stuff in the space where you want publicity. Get to know what that reporter is writing about. Get to know it intimately. And then you can reach out to the reporter. Many of these reporters you can reach on Twitter. They publish their emails because they want to get these tips. So the best way is just man-to-man, just like that. But if you do need to go to an online Rolodex like a Cision, which is very expensive, by the way, and doesn't really have terrific data in many cases, you can get email addresses from there and then contact the reporter. But here's not what to do. Never, ever, ever build these massive lists and spam reporters. That is a cardinal sin. That's one of the reasons the PR industry has such a terrible name with reporters. Never, ever do that. It's man-to-man coverage. Think of it that way. You're not playing zone offense or defense with reporters. Engage them individually. Number 5, how do you engage a reporter? First of all, you don't mass pitch like I just said. The second thing is, don't even pitch them right away. If you have Todd Bishop's email at GeekWire or something, just don't pitch him unless you know for sure he's interested. Ask for permission. Hey, I see that you write a lot about this topic. We have something coming up that you might be interested in because it's going to affect these people. Would you mind if I told you about it? And then they might say, yeah, send me some more information. They've just given you permission. Or they might say, hey, no, but my colleague down the hall covers that. Here's his address. Or the reporter might say, you know what, I'm just not interested, or I'm busy. But guess what? You've just created a relationship. And don't push them. It's not a sales thing. But now you've got a relationship, so you can go back. And they'll remember that you treated them respectfully. That's what's important here. They're not a wall against which you throw a hamburger. Number 6, understand the rules of engagement. There's something called an embargo. When you reach out to that journalist before you make the announcement and you say, hey, I've got this thing coming up on Monday and it's Thursday or Friday, establish what's known as an embargo. Say, I'm happy to give you this news in advance if you agree not to publish it for Monday 9 a.m. Eastern time. And they'll be like, okay, great. Yeah, I've got no problem doing that. But here's the key, don't give that to a lot of people because you're gonna get screwed. It's happened to me before where somebody like at AP has pulled it off the wire and they've run the story and all of a sudden I've got all these angry reporters saying, hey, you screwed me on the embargo. Don't get behind that 8 ball, it's gonna harm your relationships. Again, less is more in PR. You wanna get great hits with credible journalists, and that is gonna do more for you than spreading it wildly. The second thing is, there's no such thing as off the record. Although, you can certainly go off the record. It sounds contradictory, but just know that you can't say to a reporter it's off the record after you've already told them. Reach out to the reporter and say, hey, Christine, I've got some information, but can I talk to you about it off the record first? And if she agrees, now you've got this verbal contract. And I've never once been burned on that. So make sure you know the rules of engagement. The final thing that I'll say, number 7, is the PR industry really has not had much innovation over the past 20 years. In fact, I'll go so far as to say they haven't had any meaningful innovation. However, over the past couple of years, there's been a sector of businesses, I call them PR tech, I'm not the first to say that. Scoop is one of them, my company. And I've written about others. They're on the Newsmaker blog at Scoop. It's biz.scoop.com, and look for the blog. And I've written about some of these other guys because I think it's really important for businesses, particularly startups that are on the cutting edge of innovation, to work with some of these businesses because they're getting as good or better results than really expensive legacy systems. So that's it for today. I'm hoping to produce more of these. I've got some ideas, but really it would be more interesting if I heard from you. So if you've got ideas, go to like I said, biz.scoop.com. My contact information is on there. Send me an idea. If I get a bunch of ideas, I'll put together some other topics. In the meantime, thank you so much for your attention.